All right, so today we're doing something a little different for this deep dive.
Hmm.
Yeah, we're leaving behind the research papers and really getting into the nitty-gritty of a short story
Interesting.
called A Mother's Grief. And, we're going to be looking at how the writer, what they do to make such a powerful narrative.
I find short stories so fascinating.
Yeah.
And so you get this concentrated look at human experience.
Yeah.
And the themes are often relevant way beyond the page itself.
Okay, so picture this.
Huh.
You get a call in the middle of the night. It's the retirement home. Your mom, she's there, but she's also not.
Okay.
And our main character, Gary, has to figure out how to deal with his mom, who has recently passed, but she's not quite ready to move on.
And that's what I found so interesting right from the start.
Yeah.
It's not your typical ghost story.
Mm.
It's really looking at grief, but from both sides.
Yeah.
You get the perspective of the living and the...
Yeah, and it doesn't shy away from her raw emotions either.
No, it doesn't.
The moms, the confusion, just that feeling of being lost.
Yeah.
I think there's a line in there where she says, "My heart's broken and I don't know how to fix it."
Wow.
And it's simple, but man, it lands.
It's so effective.
It does.
You really feel that rawness.
Yeah,
Even if you haven't personally gone through that kind of loss.
absolutely.
It just makes you think, how do we begin to process that?
And then it takes it a step further because her grief is so intertwined with this belief that her husband was her one true love,
Mm-hmm.
and that to move on would be a sin.
Oh, wow.
So, it's adding this whole other layer of, faith and...
Exactly.
Mm.
It highlights how much those two things are connected.
Yeah,
Grief and faith, especially when dealing with death.
yeah. It's like, how do you even begin to explain that it's okay
Yeah.
to move on?
That's the thing, right? And that's Gary's dilemma in this whole thing.
It is.
He's grieving himself,
He is.
but then he feels this responsibility to help his mother find peace.
Yeah, they have these conversations
Isaac,
where he's trying to explain this concept of moving on, and it's so
it must be so awkward.
awkward and painful, and you
Yeah.
can tell that he's just struggling with what to say, how to help.
And it makes you wonder, do you think he owes her the truth? Even if it's going to be hard for her to hear.
Right.
What do we owe the people that we've lost? Is it peace? Is it just honesty, even if it's difficult?
Especially when he's going through his own grief, too.
It's exactly.
Like, he's in it.
Yeah.
And just when you think you're starting to get an idea of what Gary should do,
Yeah.
the story throws this
Oh,
curveball.
the twist.
The twist.
This-
It changes everything.
It does. So remember how I said his mom is, well, not exactly among the living anymore.
Yeah.
Gary knew all along,
Oh, wow.
and it's not revealed until the very end,
Interesting.
which makes you rethink everything that came before it.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Because now you're like, wait a minute.
It puts a different spin on it.
It does. It's wild, right? Knowing that from the start,
Yeah.
it adds this whole other...
It makes you question everything he does.
Yes. Yeah.
Is he holding back? Is he trying to protect her?
It's like we're going through our own grieving process with him.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And that's what makes it more than just a ghost story.
Right.
It's speculative fiction, a bit of horror. But at its core, it's human.
Yeah.
It's about that emotion. And it really makes you think,
It does.
if you were in Gary's shoes, how would you handle that?
Would you tell them?
Right.
Even if it meant,
Yeah.
shattering.
It's a tough one.
It is.
There's no easy answer to that question.
No.
And the story doesn't try to give you one.
Right.
If anything, it really embraces the complexity of it all.
Yeah, and that there's no right or wrong way.
Exactly. Right. It's messy. It's confusing.
Yeah, and one thing I thought was really interesting was how isolated Gary was.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't tell anyone
Right.
what he's going through.
He's carrying that burden all by himself.
Yeah.
It's a small detail, but it's so powerful
It is.
because it really shows how solitary grief can be.
Yeah.
Like even when you're surrounded by people who love you,
You don't always.
you're still in your own head.
Yeah, you're in your own world with it.
And it made me think about all the times we suffer in silence,
Yes.
even when we so desperately need that connection with somebody.
It's like Firesmith is saying, okay, we have this extraordinary circumstance,
Right.
but at the heart of it, this is a story about human connection and the things that we do for
It's love for those that we've lost.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty powerful.
It is, and the way that he uses language
Yes.
to connect us with these characters.
It's masterful.
It is.
Remember that line about her heart being broken?
Oh, yeah.
So simple.
It's so simple.
But it packs such a punch.
It does. It's like,
You can just feel the rawness of her pain in those words.
yes.
And that's what good writing is.
Yeah.
Is showing instead of telling.
Yes.
He could easily said, the mother was very sad.
She missed her husband.
Right. But instead, he lets us experience her grief.
Yes, exactly.
Hear her words.
And her confusion.
Yeah.
It's really powerful.
It makes you realize how often we try to intellectualize grief.
Yes.
Like, try to make sense of it.
Yeah. And that ending.
I know.
Without, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't read it yet.
Sure.
But how did it leave you feeling?
Hopeful, I think,
Okay.
in a way, but definitely melancholy.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those endings that really sticks with you.
Yeah.
You finish the story and you're still thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's like those last couple of brushstrokes on a painting,
Oh, okay.
It's not necessarily a clear resolution,
Right.
but it evokes such a mood.
It does. It's like he's inviting us to just sit with those emotions.
Exactly.
And be okay with not having all the answers,
Yeah, embrace the ambiguity of it all.
It made me want to talk about it with someone,
It's a testament to how good the story is.
Yeah.
That it makes you want to have those conversations.
It does.
It can transport you to a whole different world.
Yes.
Make you question your own beliefs.
Yeah.
And you just come away with this sense of wonder.
It really is that combination of the familiar and the strange that makes it so powerful. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, because you have these characters that you can relate to. They're dealing with loss, they're dealing with love, these universal things. But it all takes place in this almost surreal setting.
Yeah, it's really something.
It reminds you that the best stories are often the ones that blur those lines
Yes.
between reality and imagination.
That's what I love about these deep dives.
Me too.
We take something like a short story
Right.
and we just kind of unpack it.
Yeah, peel back all the layers.
And see what we find.
Exactly.
So if you're looking for a story that'll stay with you, make you think about grief, faith, the complexities of love,
This is it.
definitely check out A Mother's Grief by Donald Firesmith.
It's a must read.
We'll be sure to have a link on our website.
And if you have any thoughts, any questions,
Yes.
come find us on social media.
Let's keep this conversation going
We'd love to hear from you.
because that's what it's all about, right?
Absolutely.
Encouraging you to dive deeper.
Keep those conversations going.
So until next time,
Until next time.
keep exploring and we'll catch you on the flip side.